Thank you. So our next session is something a little different, kind of looking at the storytelling of Mars. Yeah, our next two guests are Eric Haseltine and Chris Gilbert. Yeah, Eric comes from, worked for Disney as an Imagineer, chief Imagineer for many years, as well as worked in the intelligence community, pretty senior in the intelligence community. And Chris is a SAG actress as well, so they have strong Hollywood connections. They've started working on a graphic novel, trying to engage kind of the emotional elements of going to Mars. And they're working with us, trying to really develop this and see if we can do something special to excite people, excite kids, but as well as adults about why we're going to Mars and just grabbing their passion, grabbing their imagination on this amazing voyage we're about to go on. So, Eric and Chris.
Thank you. Well, hello, y'all from out west. It's funny, California isn't viewed as the West, but we're about as far west as you can get, right, honey?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, so
very far away.
Howdy. Okay, we're going to talk about storytelling, and we'll get into the reason for that in a moment. But in Hollywood, we have a saying, show, don't tell. So in that spirit, let's start with a story.
When I was a little girl, I was 5, 6 years old. I was very much alone. My parents were not with me very much, and I had no friends because I had to study all the time. And at night, I was in a room all by myself, and I was scared, and I didn't know how to fall asleep without being scared. And being alone, I had the inspiration of going outside and looking at the stars. And as I started looking at the stars more and more, I had dreams as a little girl that I was going in between the stars. I was navigating in between the stars, and I was able to understand, to feel vibrations from the different stars. And the different stars with that recurrent dream became my friends. And then, after a few weeks of doing that, I was not afraid anymore to go to my room all by myself or to be alone anymore, because I knew I would find those stars. They would be with me. And that was my story. And that's the inspiration for what we're going to show you.
Thank you, Chris. So, I want to pause for a moment about what you just experienced. It's a very different way of messaging. And Walt Disney used to say, you can speak to people's hearts or you can speak to their minds. But there are a whole lot more hearts out there. And so we believe everything that you've heard over the last 2 days is fantastic arguments for the rational mind of why we should have a human presence on Mars. We're going to show an irrational message to add one arrow to the messaging quiver. We're explicitly going to avoid the rational and go for the emotional. And that's why we call this Getting to Mars on the Wings of a Story. Because without the motivation of the public and the money that flows for it, and the support during all the privations and difficulties that we're going to have, we're not going to get there. They say no bucks, no Buck Rogers. Well, right, if there aren't stories that engage people, for example, interest in STEM skyrocketed after CSI. You had huge increase in enrollment in the life sciences after that TV show. So that shows that stories can produce motivation and motivation can produce money. So that's really the whole point. So let's tell you what we're going to talk about this morning.
So we're going to tell you about our goals.
We're going to talk about how we're going to approach achieving those goals.
We're going to tell you about our keys to success.
And then we're going to spend most of the talk giving you examples, which is a little like a movie trailer of our graphic novel that we've written, specifically working with the board, of which I am, of Explore Mars.
So our goals.
We want to generate sustained interest in human exploration of Mars.
And we want to show unique benefits of human versus machine-only exploration.
And we want to raise money for the Explore Mars Foundation. A percentage of the sales of the book will go to the Mars Foundation, Explore Mars Foundation. Here's our approach.
So we're going to tell an inspirational story that invests people in a character who cares passionately about Mars.
So if we can't get people interested in Mars, we'll get them interested in someone who is passionately interested. And we'll do it by, as we say, show don't tell, the benefits of human exploration through a narrative that appeals to the widest possible audience.
And we'll make the story deliver the message and not the message deliver the story.
When you're trying to convince people of something, it puts their defenses up. Oh, they want my money, they want this, they want that. So the way to get to them is to explicitly not do that. The hook, as we say, has to be different than the grab, and the hook has to be emotional, fun, whatever storytelling benefit we afford. And we want to sustain the interest over a long period of time. The Martian was fantastic for generating interest in Mars, but that was yesterday. We want to do something that's going to be in the consumers' faces for many years. So the graphic novel, and we also have contacts in Hollywood. We're talking about getting this made into a Pixar-like movie or a series for TV. We want to keep the message out there all the time. Here's what we think are the keys to successful storytelling.
So first, a sympathetic, attractive character with relatable issues who has
a difficult to achieve, high-stakes goal.
And that a worthy, complex, multidimensional opponent tries to thwart.
No Snidely Whiplash. Our villains are going to be really interesting, and as we say in Hollywood, textured. To overcome this opponent and other obstacles, the character must grow emotionally, ultimately realizing what they initially wanted is not what they needed.
And along the way, we're going to need three things. One is conflict. The second one is conflict. And the third one is even more conflict. So the more novel and imaginative, the better.
Did we mention conflict? We have to have, and of course, no Disney story. And for those of you who have ever seen a Disney story or watched a Disney movie 50,000 times with your kids on the VCR till it wore out and you had to buy a new one, thank you for buying them. Heart is everything. And so you're going to see that, hopefully, in the story.
And like all good stories, we're going to offer bonuses. And those are all little tidbits of science, real science, that people will learn or kids will learn.
But those bonuses, those messages, if you will, about the science and the coolness of it are not the point of the story. They're incidental. They're woven in and essential for the story, but they're not the point. They're a means to an end, not an end in itself. And of course, a happy ending is mandatory. So let's get started. In the not too distant future, a bot approaches Vicky as she sleeps. She tears free of the bot as it grabs her, running for safety, but she trips. The bot prepares a death blow.
Oh no. 25 years earlier, in a shabby house, in a neighborhood where 2/3 of the house are abandoned, a bedroom light shines. Vicky rises so she can make breakfast for her mom, with whom she lives alone. But her mom is on welfare. She drinks alcohol, she smokes, she's not doing well, and she has nowhere to be. But Vicky tries to wake her so that she can eat. Vicky has become her mother's caregiver. She receives only criticism in return. Vicky often feels worthless. But only few people can understand Vicky. I mean, she's so good with math and physics. She knows about everything. But she's alone again. She feels like a perpetual insider. And often she cries before bedtime. But she has friends. The wild burros that roam the street keep her company when they can. Grateful to the wild animals who console her, she rescues 2 young burros. She's going to name them Jasper and Helix, and they become her closest friends. And she makes another friend, because at night she's drawn to something else that is also alone. The only red object in the sky. It is Mars. And it eases her loneliness. So she dreams of being the first human on Mars and to discover the life she knows is there. And then she studies on how to become an astrobiologist. And years later, we can see that NASA is hiring the first 16-year-old, and that's Vicky, for astrobiology research. And after that, she wants to become not only an astrobiologist, she wants to become an astronaut. And she starts training, and she's accepted for astronaut training. But 2 weeks short of graduating, she's almost there. Vicky learns that her mother had a stroke. What is she going to do? Does she have to go there? She doesn't have any brother, doesn't have any sister. Who can take care of her mother? And mother doesn't have enough money to take care of herself or to hire somebody. She needs Vicky. So Vicky gives up her dream to care for a mother who never cared for her. So she did that for a while. And then afterwards her mother dies. And when her mother dies, she is interviewed by a company who is devoting their work to human exploration of Mars. And she lands a job at that company.
With Caitlin as the CEO. And any resemblance to Elon Musk is completely coincidental.
The mission to Mars will be uncrewed, but to test the viability of a crewed mission, Vicky's job is to design and install a life support system to evaluate if it can survive the rigors of a two-way journey to Mars.
She develops what we call in life science a phantom, a completely instrumented proxy human to test the effects of radiation and long space travel, apart from the psychological, on the journey to Mars, and as long as everything else you need in a support system to go to Mars. So before we send humans, we're going to send their support system there and back in order to see whether everything functions properly.
The company is fabulous, but something mysterious is going on there. This lab has everything I ever dreamt of.
And some things no one has ever dreamed of. Go anywhere you like, except the basement.
What? The basement? Why?
Curious. Ignoring her boss's warning, Vicky explores the basement. You don't belong here. Leave.
Whoa. Should I go talk to the boss? I think I should go talk to the boss. But Caitlin, why is the scientist in the basement so hostile?
Dr. Stanhope is a bit cranky, yes. But don't worry, it's a physics project completely unrelated to Mars. Don't argue, Stanhope. Install tamper protections on your payload now! And reprogram the bot to kill, if necessary.
Undeterred, Vicky investigates further.
Late one night, Vicky sees unfamiliar men loading a large container into a hidden compartment on the ship. After the men leave, she learns, after much analysis, the payload is a particle beam for sterilizing Mars so that microbes there do not infect the humans that her boss wants to mine. When she goes to the particle beam to sabotage it, she gets an electric jolt. It knocks her out. But she wakes up to a roar and shaking. The ship is taking off.
Vicky contacts the boss, tells her she's aboard by accident. She learns why her boss wants to profit from human-operated mines on Mars.
You guessed right, Vicky. Dr. Stanhope particle beam will make Mars life safe for humans, including you now that you're going there.
Well, I'll die before I let you destroy Mars or life on Mars.
Well, as you can see, you're dead already. But you wouldn't stay dead if you help me. Can I tell you a story?
Do I have a choice?
No. Here's my story. My parents were missionaries. I saw more poverty and disease than my heart could bear. Everywhere I saw the powerful steal from the weak. I resolved one day to put an end to that and the misery it brought. But I never relinquished my desire for change. I spent all my formative years imagining ways to overcome power and realized there was only one way, with greater power. In college, I decided that the only enormous wealth, more than anyone had ever amassed, could achieve that power in order to ensure that food and medicine and healthcare got to everyone who needed when they needed them anywhere in the world.
Okay, so you want good things for a human on Earth. Okay, I get it. I get it. But then you're going to destroy Mars? Vicky must make an impossible choice. Is it selfish to want to save life on Mars when I cannot prove yet that it exists? I think it's selfish. Okay, I will help you. The journey to Mars is perilous.
A supernova in the galaxy overwhelms the radiation shields of the ship. The massive energy pulse disables power and artificial gravity. The ship leaks. There isn't enough oxygen to reach Mars. So Vicky has no choice but to convert some of her precious water into oxygen and hydrogen. There's now enough oxygen, but the layer of water in the hull that protects from galactic cosmic rays by absorbing them is much thinner now, allowing dangerous radiation to get into the ship. This radiation makes Vicky very sick.
If things were not bad enough, Vicky's boss tries to kill her.
After recovering, while she's making repairs on the ship, Vicky discovers hidden cameras have been monitoring her since launch.
She knew I was on board when she launched. She's using me as a guinea pig to assess the risk of a Mars journey, as a captive labor. Oh, God, Caitlin, you always knew I was aboard. Oh, maybe even lured me here. Are you trying to kill me?
You'd know it if I were trying to kill you, trust me. And why would I? You've proven a huge help already, surfacing problems, making repairs. You're invaluable.
I won't help you destroy Mars.
Better than destroying Earth.
Don't bother calling back.
Vicky, please, don't make me...
I hang up.
Resigned that Vicky will thwart her aims, the boss sends a bot to kill her.
Vicky survives and reaches Mars. Finally, her dream has come true. Really? I'm the first human on Mars? My dream. That's my dream.
But the planet proves more perilous than the journey. When Vicky has second thoughts about helping her boss, another bot attacks, followed by a self-destruct explosion. She must confront lethal particle beam her boss has sent. Much of her food and water are destroyed, and she's now stranded on Mars on the red planet. More cosmic radiation than her already irradiated body can afford. There are meteorite strikes. It's bad.
While Vicky searches for life, something happens.
While gathering samples from a crater wall, a powerful Mars quake knocks her off the crater wall, sending her tumbling down to the crater floor. But Vicky uses the opportunity to explore. The quake exposed a hole in the surface leading to a lava tube left over from the Mars volcanic era.
Vicky makes her home in a lava tube and uses remaining seeds, algae, and plants for food and oxygen.
She lands in the crater to get close to the lava tube with parts that she's made, and then installs the parts and now has a new permanent home. She has her bot shovel soil into a heated tank to convert the ice crystals that are bound to this soil into water for her plants and for her to drink. She plants seeds for more fast-growing oxygen generators like bamboo and, of course, algae, which can be used both to generate oxygen and for food.
Her travails force a moment of truth.
Yeah, right. Like little Vicky is going to survive and thwart the most powerful woman alive? I don't think so.
As usual, her biggest obstacle is her inner critic. But then, finally, she realizes she can and must leave her mother critic behind, her inner critic behind. Vicky finally quiets her mother's harsh voice. She is not worthless.
So Vicky, with her newfound confidence, negotiates a deal with the boss. And in this deal, she convinces the boss that there is a way to mine without destroying life on Mars. And in fact, using thermal energy from the planet's core while drilling for the minerals, you can achieve 2 at 1. And she makes a really important last point that keeps her alive.
You need me alive so I can do what no bot has ever done. I can think, I can improvise, I can plan and adapt and get into places where bots can't.
So after striking a deal with her boss, Caitlin, certain things are sent to her, including new supplies and something much more important.
Vicky's heart leaps when she hears familiar sounds coming from the cargo. Caitlin has kept her promise. It's Jasper and Helix. Vicky may not have found life, but life has found her. Vicky makes special suits for Jasper and Helix because they are restless in the confines of the lava tube. They want to go outside and play. At the opening of a new lava tube, Jasper taps enthusiastically, indicating she senses there is something worth investigating below. The search for life, even in fossil form, proves frustrating.
Lava tubes are among the most likely places that hardy life forms might dwell because they're shielded from radiation and the extreme temperature fluctuations in the surface. So she takes samples there. But she finds life, but it turns out to be contamination from her plants. Other samples have microbes, but her analytic app tells her they come from her skin, her plants, and other equipment that weren't fully sterilized or contained on the trip. Time after time, she gets promising results, but they're inconclusive. Why? Because she and her AI model haven't been trained on Martian life. All they know is to look for earthly life, and maybe Martian life isn't the same thing.
And one miraculous day, however,
she finds
life.
And it isn't anything like. Now, we would have shown it to you, but you're going to have to read the book.
Yeah. So Vicky saves life on Mars by persuading her boss. It has a value to humans. She says Martian life must routinely repair cell mutation caused by radiation. That will allow us to prevent and treat cancers on Earth.
Life forms here must also extract water from the atmosphere and soil through hygroscopic molecules. Think how useful that would be for growing things in the desert, high altitudes, and other places we can't grow crops.
Yeah, and speaking of growing things in harsh environments, Martian life has learned to extract nutrients from inorganic substances, such as perchlorates and iron ore. That could show us how to grow crops in poor countries.
Martian-enabled medical treatments, agricultural advancement, harvesting scarce water, and radiation resistance will make someone a lot of money. Enough, maybe, that a certain someone wouldn't need to mine for minerals to finance their goals.
And we have bonuses, random bonuses.
For the reader.
For the reader. We'll talk about quakes. There are a lot of quakes, Mars quakes.
Lava tubes people didn't know about.
Talk about stromatolites in lava tubes.
And oncolites. These are structures made by biofilms on Earth that would be something that conceivably could be found on Mars.
And we'll talk about oxygen and food from the same source.
And what would be unique about life on Mars, because it grows up in a very different environment with very different gravity, with lots of radiation and temperature variation. So what kind of extremophiles would grow under those conditions?
Yeah, and likely just microbes that would have membranes that would be very thick to protect against radiation. And the last one is...
And the last one shows how not only the space program would be very clever in shielding people, but how it would be done. But the biggest bonus of all is a happy ending. Now, again, you're going to have to buy the book to see what the happy ending is.
Yes.
But suffice it to say, you see some Earth creatures here for which there's a happy ending,
Yeah.
and the creatures on Mars. And yes, we can all learn to get along together.
And this was only a trailer. This is only the trailer.
Yes.
But we need to think, some people, before the 10 seconds
Oh,
are
this isn't
over.
where we say in theater soon?
No. Oh, yeah, we can say in theory. But,
Available on Amazon.com.
But we can thank.
We have some people to thank. And by the way, there are probably some errors because we're still, we have the first draft done, but there are probably some errors. So don't blame any of these people for the errors we might have had.
So we need to thank Dr. James Green,
Chris Carberry,
Janet Ivey,
and J.R. Edwards. And thank you very much,
you very much.
also to all of you. It's been a lot of fun.